What's going on, guys? Got a different type of video for you today. I usually do product reviews, just focusing normally on the products, but I want to do a different type of video today. So I've been rocking this 32-inch QD-OLED monitor from MSI for around 2 years now. And I just kind of want to switch things up. I wanted to test out what a 42-inch monitor would be like. Not that I've had that many issues with this MSI monitor, but I am a little annoyed by the ambient lighting handling. This is one of the older gen panels, and I get a lot of sunlight in this room. I also wish it got a little bit brighter. It doesn't get very bright, and I can't really control the brightness anyway, given the settings on this monitor. And it scratches very easily, and it gets a lot of marks, and it's a little bit annoying. So what I did was get an LG C5, and I wanted to put it into my setup and see if it works for me, which is for productivity use and gaming, and maybe some movie watching, sports watching as well. My desk is it's not very big, so I'm very interested to see if the 42-inch setup is just too big for this type of desk setup. I think it's around 24 to 27 inches in terms of the width. Let's get the LG C5 unboxed, and then we'll see in a couple weeks how I'm feeling about the setup. All right, guys, we're all set up here with TV. Definitely different than a monitor because it's an actual TV. And you got to set it up, go through a bunch of stuff. But anyway, it's ready to go. Took me about 30 minutes to put everything together. So pretty easy process. Gonna spend a couple of weeks with this, using it for productivity work, gaming, maybe a little bit of movie watching, stuff like that. And I'll get back to you guys with a full review. Honestly, I thought it was gonna be bigger, especially because my desk is not very large. I'll get back to you guys soon with my full thoughts on if 42 inches is worth the upgrade over 32 inches. All right, guys, so I spent a couple weeks with the LG C5 42-inch OLED TV, using it as a monitor. And I wanted to kind of give my thoughts on my experience using it for both work and productivity, and as well as multimedia consumption, gaming, watching movies, watching sports. First, I want to start with how it's been just the 42-inch size in my setup. So I have a pretty small desk in terms of, width. It's a little bit under 24 inches. So I always have the doubt about whether a 42-inch size would actually fit on this desk and whether it would be a comfortable size. And I would say you definitely do get used to the size relatively quickly, but for this desk size, I just feel like it's too big only for monitor use. If you're going to be using it for PC usage, for your job, or for content creation, I think it's actually okay, because you want a big screen if you're going to be, scrubbing the timeline, editing a lot of clips and stuff like that. I think it's fine. But if you're working kind of a normal job, doing spreadsheets and stuff, or, writing articles like I do, it's too big. It's too big. And what I find myself doing is I find myself like having to lean back almost all the way. It's not ideal. And I still have my 32-inch QD-OLED in another room. And when I go from the 42-inch to the 32-inch, it's just a much easier experience for me, at least for my use case and in my job. I'm also missing some of the features that a monitor provides me. at least for my specific use case, the work laptop that I have, it's a PC, it's a HP. I can get 4K 120 through HDMI. I could only get that through DisplayPort or the USB-C DP alt mode that I have on the MSI QD-OLED that I was using previously. And I'll be honest, that's a big miss. And I know this won't affect everyone because most people probably have a PC that does support 4K 120 or more through HDMI, or they're using a Mac. So that's a very specific use case, but at least for me, that's a miss. That's a miss in my opinion. And overall, I just really feel like I need a much larger desk if I'm going to be doing work. I find that I would have to kind of come up here to really, get eye level with the top half of the screen, because if not, I'm just looking in all directions. I would say the 42-inch size is not as big as I thought. Like, I thought it would be a bigger jump. I mean, 10 inches from 32-inch to 42-inch sounds like a lot. And it is in terms of like doing work tasks. I find it a little bit too big for my desk setup. But if I had a larger desk, maybe a couple 8 more inches or something like that, get to 30-inch or 31, 32-inch desk, I think it would be actually really good because I would be back here and it would be a lot more comfortable. But there are other kind of drawbacks that I've had with this TV that keep me from using it as a full-time work and play monitor. I've mentioned, like, I think it's just a little bit too big. The DisplayPort thing is kind of a bummer for me. And it just doesn't get bright enough in SDR, especially in my room environment. I don't know if you can see, but I have a window right next to me and I can control the blinds, but the ambient light still peeks through even if I put the blinds all the way down. And I think this gets to around 200 nits in SDR or something, full screen. And it just doesn't look great. It just doesn't get bright enough on Windows. In my opinion, on Windows 11 on my PC. On Mac, it's fine, actually. I didn't have many issues. I thought it got bright enough. And on Mac, it was a much better experience. But I use a PC laptop for work, and that's just my gripe with it. I feel like it doesn't get bright enough in SDR. And also the text clarity is not good. Like, I thought QD-OLED didn't have good text clarity, but going from one to the other one it's a night and day difference. And I think a lot of it has to do with the pixel density. Obviously, this is a much bigger screen. It's pushing a lot more pixels. And because I'm too close, I think if I were, like I said before, if I was more back, the text would look better and it would be sharper. But I still don't think, because even when I did go back without working, just going back a little bit just to see what was going on, the text clarity still wasn't great for me. And I didn't love it. And it just doesn't get bright enough in SDR and using Windows. So those are kind of the things that keep me from making this my full-time monitor for work. But when it comes to multimedia consumption, playing games, watching movies, it's amazing. Like, it's an amazing TV. And I've been using it a lot during this World Cup. I've watched all the games because I'm a huge soccer fan. And the upscaling is really good, especially in my room that I'm pretty far away. I'm not like too up close. The upscaling is really good while watching on Fox or even Telemundo. The upscaling is really good, awesome for sports. I've watched a lot of movies, watched the Avengers the other day. Looked incredible. And for gaming, it's great. It's great. Like, it's almost like a 3D type of experience, especially I've been playing The Last of Us Part 2 again recently. And this OLED is awesome. I did notice there's a little bit of black crush, and it took me a while. It took me a while to get the settings right on this TV, like several days to really tweak the settings, and I still find myself kind of tweaking. And that's another consideration. If you just want something plug and play, I would say just get a monitor because you don't really have to mess with a lot of settings, maybe a couple to get the picture as you want it. But it's definitely easier to get the proper picture that you would want with the QD-OLED monitor that I had before. But once you dial in the settings and really calibrate to your liking, this TV is awesome. It pops, gets super bright in HDR for gaming and for movies, at least in a dark room. In a bright room, you are wanting a little bit more brightness in a bright room, but it's not a huge deal. What I really like about LG's OLEDs is that it gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of your picture. Like, you can kind of make it look however you want. Like, if you want to bump up the color, you just turn the color depth up as much as you want, And there are so many different like upscaling AI settings that you can use to really kind of tailor the picture to your liking, which I think is cool. What I don't think is cool is this controller. It sucks. Like, this actually kind of makes me miss my monitor because I could just go under the monitor and just do a couple clicks, get to the menu and do all that stuff. Hate the little pointer thing. It's absolutely awful. I don't know why they still do that. The scroll button being the click button, I hate it, and it legitimately like hurts my thumb when I'm clicking. I don't know. I don't like this. I don't like this. That's a very minor nitpick though. I also do kind of wish, I'm kind of missing the adjustments that I can make with my other monitor, where I could go up, go down, and tilt it a little bit. Obviously, you don't have many adjustments here, but I do like the feet. It's not a huge issue, and it fits pretty good on my desk, and I like that I have a lot of space here, actually. So not too mad about the ergonomics, just I wish I could adjust. In terms of like picture quality, the colors going from QD-OLED to WOLED, you do kind of notice the difference, but it's not as crazy as you would think. And the ambient light handling is much better on this than it is on my QD-OLED, which is I think a 3rd gen, before kind of they made the revisions to make the ambient lighting better, ambient light handling better. And this does handle it well, but I still get like a little magenta, like purplish tint when sunlight is kind of creeping through the windows, and it's very reflective, which you might like or you may not like. So kind of my closing thoughts. I really like this TV. I legitimately thought about keeping it, but there are just some things that kind of detract me from making it my full-time work and play monitor, just because I'm missing some of those monitor features. I think it's just slightly too big for my specific setup. I don't know why companies don't make 37 or 38 inch 4K monitors. Like, I feel like it would be a really interesting market to exploit, because I do think there's a demand for it. Like, I think 42 inches is a little bit too big for a lot of people, but people want a little bit more than 32 inches. And 37, 38 seems like the perfect sweet spot. I think LG and Samsung have a 37 inch monitor, a 38 inch, or I don't think it has local dimming. It doesn't have mini LED. It's not an OLED. So it's missing like what you would want for a proper 4K HDR experience. But I think that's the perfect size, especially if you would be able to get a lot of the monitor things that this is missing. So LG, Samsung, MSI, Asus, I don't know, whoever's making all these panels and all these monitors, 37, 38 inch monitor, 4K, HDR, OLED or mini LED. Come on, I think that's where the future is. But for now, I'm gonna stick with my 32 inch QD-OLED. Really like the LG C5 42 inch, but it's just missing a couple things that hasn't fully convinced me to make the switch. But let me know if you guys have gone from 32 inches to 42 inches. How big is your desk setup? Were you able to kind of integrate it into your space, and is it flawless? Will you ever go back to 32 inches? And do you think 37 or 38 inches is the future? Because I think it is. But let me know in the comments below.